I still don't know why I didn't just ask someone for a ride that night. It would have taken 5 minutes tops. But I guess I didn't want to be a bother, or maybe I was just too used to that walk by then. It had become part of the routine. Boots hitting gravel, air cooling off fast after sundown. That stretch of 2-lane cutting through Rust Creek like a scar. It was just after 9 when I clocked out of the diner, apron folded up and stuffed into my bag. Same walk as always, past the gas station that shut down years ago, past the old billboard that no one had bothered to update since the summer fair in '08. Nothing about the road had changed, but it felt different that night, like the trees were pressing in closer, like the shadows were too still. I remember how loud my footsteps sounded, and how quiet everything else was. No cicadas, no wind. Even the stray dogs that sometimes roamed near the edge of town weren't out. It was that kind of silence that feels like it's watching you. I kept checking over my shoulder. Not constantly, just more than I usually did. Every time I did, I saw the same empty road behind me. Nothing there, but I couldn't shake the feeling. My chest felt tight, and I walked a little faster without realizing it. I told myself it was just nerves. Maybe leftover anxiety from that weird guy who lingered too long in the diner earlier. Still, I couldn't help it. Something about the night felt heavier, like it was waiting for something, or someone. And that's when I first noticed the sound, faint, distant, like a low engine. I was maybe halfway down Bowden Trail when I heard it. The low hum of an engine that didn't fit with the stillness around me. I didn't turn around right away. I just slowed my steps and listened. The noise was too steady to be wind and too soft to be a truck coming from the highway. It was behind me though, close enough to feel like something trailing me just outside my line of sight. When I finally glanced over my shoulder, I saw it. An old van, maybe white or silver, hard to tell in the dark. No headlights, just gliding along like it was out for a casual drive through the woods. Except no one did that. Not out here, not without their lights on. I tried brushing it off at first. There's a beat-up dealership lot about a mile from the main road, and they're always pushing out these rusted clunkers with faulty parts, busted lights, sketchy brakes, that sort of thing. I told myself that's what this was. Some guy just trying to get home in a half-dead van. But even then, why not pass me? It just stayed there. Same distance, never gaining, never fading. Like it was matching my pace on purpose. I started to walk a little faster, telling myself not to be paranoid. But the sound picked up too, barely, but enough to notice. That's when it really started to sink in. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't a broken van or a lazy driver. It was deliberate. Whatever that van was doing out there, it wasn't just passing through. And it sure as hell wasn't trying to get somewhere. It was watching me, keeping distance, waiting. I was almost to the bend in the road when it happened. The woods around me were thickening up, the kind of dense trees that make the night feel heavier. It was quiet, too quiet. But then right off to my right, I heard it, not the snap of a twig or the shuffle of an animal. No, this was different. A sharp mechanical sound, quick, like the shutter of a camera. Click. Just like that. It wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable. A single, deliberate sound followed by dead silence. No flash, no rustle of someone moving, just nothing. For a moment, I froze, my feet still on the gravel, heart hammering in my chest. I didn't want to turn my head, didn't even want to acknowledge it. I told myself it was a bird or a trick of the wind, but deep down I knew it wasn't. Who the hell would be out here, in the middle of nowhere, taking pictures in the dark? There wasn't anyone around for miles. No houses, no streetlights, just trees. And yet, I could feel it. Someone, or something, was out there, watching. The rational part of me wanted to turn around, look toward the woods where I'd heard it, but I couldn't bring myself to. Something in my gut told me not to. So, I didn't. I just kept walking, my pace picking up faster than before. Each step echoed louder than the last. But the sound of that shutter, it stuck with me. It wouldn't go away. And now, even as I walk through it in my head, I can't shake the feeling that it was never a mistake. Whoever, or whatever, was out there wasn't just snapping photos. They were waiting for something. or maybe someone. I don't know exactly when it happened, but it's like the van finally decided what it was doing. Without warning, the headlights flicked on. The engine roared to life, and it surged forward, tearing down the main road like it was on a mission. My heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, it was done. Maybe it was heading off somewhere else, done with whatever game it had been playing with me. I almost let myself believe that, almost felt some relief, like the weight had been lifted. But then, right before it reached the trail that leads to Bowden, the headlights cut off again, just like that. It was as if the van had suddenly decided to coast instead of speed, gliding along quietly, like nothing had changed. My pulse picked up again, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I could feel it, the gut instinct, telling me that this wasn't some random fluke. The van wasn't leaving. It was just waiting. Then, without another sound, it turned onto Bowden Trail. The van just stopped, no engine whirring, no tires scraping the gravel, no nothing, just dead quiet. It was as if the world around me held its breath. I froze. I couldn't help myself. My feet felt stuck to the earth, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. The doors, both of them, were wide open. There was no one inside, at least not at first glance. But then, why were the doors open? Why was the van sitting there like that, so still? Was someone hiding, waiting for me to get closer? I couldn't tell, and that's what freaked me out the most. I still can't make sense of it. It wasn't just a strange vehicle. It was deliberate. Everything about it was. And for a moment, I didn't know if I should run, turn around, or keep walking. I didn't do any of those things though. I just stood there, paralyzed, staring at it. I didn't think about it. I didn't even plan it. 1 second, I was just standing there, frozen by the van and the silence, and then I was running. It was like my body took over and my mind couldn't keep up. I didn't know what I was running from exactly, but I sure as hell wasn't sticking around to find out. I didn't even feel my feet hitting the ground. I just moved down the slope into the cover of the woods. My lungs burned from the cold night air, but it didn't matter. I didn't stop until I found a flat spot behind an old boulder, big enough to hide behind, but small enough that I couldn't fully breathe. My heart was thumping so loud I was convinced anyone close by would hear it, but I couldn't stop. I had to stay hidden. That's when I heard them. It started with a voice, low and slow, barely a murmur through the trees. I couldn't make out the words at first. Then another voice joined, and another. And before I knew it, there were 3 distinct voices, all speaking at the same time. They weren't arguing, they weren't panicking. They were just talking, calmly, like this wasn't their first rodeo. The tone, the pacing, it was all too casual, too practiced. One of them sounded almost bored, like this was just another night in the woods. My skin went cold. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run again, but I couldn't move. I couldn't make a sound. They were so close now. I could hear the rustling of boots on the forest floor, the sound of leaves crunching. I didn't catch all the words, but it didn't matter. What I did hear was enough. They were looking for someone. Me. My blood ran cold, and suddenly, I knew I wasn't just some unlucky witness to a random encounter. This wasn't some random thing. They weren't looking for anyone. They were looking for me. The sirens finally screamed through the silence, a distorted wail that felt like it had been tearing at my mind for hours. Red and blue lights splashed across the woods, flashing and strobing off the trees, cutting through the darkness like some kind of pulse. It wasn't just the sound or the lights. It was the relief, like I was finally going to get out of this nightmare. But that relief didn't last. As soon as I stumbled out of the woods, arms flailing like a madman, I saw the cops. Their eyes locked on me, and I could see it in their faces, just another frantic mess, another person they'd have to deal with. One officer looked at me like I was part of the problem. His eyes were sharp, judging. I kept stumbling toward them, and the moment I got close enough, I saw what they were really there for. In the ditch, a girl, or at least what was left of her. I can't even describe it fully. How do you even explain something like that? All I could see was blood. So much blood, the kind of red that clings to your skin like it might never wash off. Her body was sprawled out in a way that didn't make any sense, not like someone who'd been thrown aside in a fit of rage. No, this was different. The position, the coldness, it was like it had been done so many times before, almost mechanically. They asked if I knew her. I didn't. I couldn't. I didn't want to. But it wasn't just her body that stuck with me. It was the way she was left there, carefully arranged, not out of hate but out of some kind of habit. Like someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And that's when everything clicked. Everything I'd felt, everything I'd seen made sense in the worst way. I wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time. This wasn't an isolated event. And suddenly, that's when the world around me started to crack. Like I was too late. Like the whole thing had been happening right under my nose and I had just stumbled into the middle of it all. I couldn't sleep that night, not after everything that had happened. My brain wouldn't shut off. It was like every thought was stuck on replay, looping over and over. I kept seeing her, the girl in the ditch, and hearing those voices in the woods. I kept wondering if I'd missed something, if I'd somehow messed up and led them straight to me, or worse, if I was already part of something bigger, something darker. It was around 2 in the morning when I finally dragged myself to the window. I didn't want to look out. I don't know why I did. Maybe because I was still expecting something. Like the tension in the air just wouldn't let me breathe until I saw it. And there it was again. That same damn van. It wasn't even driving, just gliding down the street, lights off, like it was making sure no one noticed it. The sound of the engine was muffled, almost gentle, like it didn't want to disturb the silence. The moment I saw it, everything in me went cold. I didn't need to guess anymore. I knew exactly what was happening. I knew it wasn't some random coincidence. I grabbed a pen, scribbled the license plate down, and called it in. The cops barely acknowledged me at first. Probably thought it was just another panicked witness clutching at straws. But then, about an hour later, one of them called me back. I can still hear his voice, the flat, detached tone. He told me the same plate had been reported in multiple states, all within the same night, and in every single one, girls had gone missing. No one could explain how it was happening. No one could figure out the connection, but it happened. I saw it, I reported it, and no one's doing a damn thing about it. Not a single officer has come by my house to check. Not even a follow-up. It's like they've already written it off. Like there's nothing they can do. But I know the van. I know what it means. And I can't shake the feeling that I'm next. It's late, way later than it should be, and I'm barely hanging on after one of those brutal shifts that drain the life out of you. The kind of exhaustion that makes your eyelids feel like they weigh a ton. All I want is to crash, but first I grab a quick snack, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, protein shake, shove it down, and drag myself to bed. The TV's on, something mindless to help me zone out while I try to sleep. I don't even care what's on at this point. I just need the distraction. And then, I hear it. A noise. I'm not even sure at first what it is. It starts off soft, like a whisper, or maybe something scraping against the walls outside. I ignore it at first, probably just the wind, right? But then I hear it clearer. A voice, not too loud, not too soft, but unmistakable. Who's up there? I freeze. For a second, I'm not sure if I actually heard it or if I'm just too tired to be rational. Maybe I imagined it, but the chill that runs through me says otherwise. It's not like I'm used to hearing voices at this hour. I sit up in bed, heart pounding. I listen closely. Nothing. The silence after that was deafening. It's one of those moments where the quiet feels more like something's hiding behind it than just peace. I crawl over to the window, trying to get a glimpse of anything out there. Nothing. It's so dark I can't see past the glass. Maybe it was someone outside. Maybe a neighbor, though I doubt it. The more I think about it, the more wrong it feels. I'm not sure how long I just sat there, waiting for something to happen. But nothing did. Or maybe, I don't know, I didn't want to wait too long. I try to brush it off. Maybe my mind's just playing tricks on me, right? I mean, I'm exhausted. The shift, the constant stress, it's probably just that. A couple of strange noises. No big deal. But then, just when I think I've convinced myself to ignore it, I hear it again. This time, it's louder. more aggressive. A solid thump, followed by rapid knocks. It sounds like someone's trying to get in, like they're pounding on the door downstairs, desperate to make themselves known. My body stiffens. I sit up in bed, my heart suddenly slamming in my chest like it wants to jump out. I can feel the blood rushing to my head, my mind spinning. The knock echoes through the house, making everything else feel smaller, quieter, like it's all closing in on me. The silence in between each knock feels heavier, like it's waiting for me to do something. I don't know what to do. I mean, what can I do? That door downstairs, the one I always shut at night, doesn't even have a lock. It's just a cheap latch that anyone with enough force could open. And the stairs leading up to my room, they creak with every step, and if someone really wanted to get up here, they could without any warning. I don't even know why I'm thinking about this in such detail. It's like my brain's trying to come up with every possible way someone could get in. I can hear my pulse in my ears. I'm starting to feel dizzy. My mind starts spinning with a million possibilities. What if it's just someone from outside messing with me? But then again, why does it feel so intentional? Like it's not just a random noise, but something meant to unsettle me. And why now? Why after everything that's already happened tonight? I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Should I stay here? Should I go check? No, I can't. What if I open that door? And God, what if they're already inside? I don't know how long I lay there, frozen. Every minute feels like an hour, each one dragging me deeper into a pit of anxiety. I keep trying to tell myself it's nothing, that I'm overthinking this, but the pounding in my chest won't stop. I feel like I can't breathe, and every creak of the house makes my skin crawl. I can't just lie here anymore. I need to figure this out. I can't think straight, and the more I think about it, the more my nerves fray. The TV's still on, flickering softly, and I can feel the dim glow casting shadows around the room. I grab the remote, turn it off, and then slowly swing my legs over the side of the bed. My feet hit the floor with a soft thud, and I pause for a second, just listening. The silence is deafening. I keep telling myself it's nothing, but something about this feels wrong. When I look over at the hatch door to the stairs, I get this strange feeling, like something's pulling at me, like I shouldn't be opening it, but I have to. I can't just stay in here lying awake and imagining things. So, I get up and walk toward the door, my feet barely making a sound on the old floorboards. The hatch door's heavy, and when I lift it, the cool air from downstairs hits me. For a second, I hesitate. It feels wrong. Why does it feel wrong? It's just a door. I call out, "Hello?" But it's like my voice just vanishes, swallowed by the emptiness of the house. There's no response, and a part of me wonders if it ever will be. I step forward, each footfall echoing more than it should. By the time I reach the halfway point of the stairs, my stomach drops like I'm on some kind of roller coaster. It's silent, too silent. I glance around, but everything looks normal. Almost too normal. The living room is just as I left it. The lights are off, everything in its place. But then, why does it feel like I'm being watched? That gnawing sensation that I'm not alone, it presses in, suffocating me. And suddenly, I don't want to go any further, but I have to. Right? I don't know what I expected. Maybe help, maybe some comfort, or even just a phone to call someone. Anything that could snap me out of this madness. So, barefoot and frantic, I ran across the yard to my neighbor's house. My heart was pounding in my chest, each beat louder than the last. My bare feet slapped against the cold concrete as I hammered on their door, shouting for help, for someone to answer. I needed someone to make this stop, to break this feeling of suffocation. But when I looked up, I froze. There he was, my neighbor, standing there, watching me. But he wasn't opening the door. He wasn't saying anything. He just stood there, motionless in the dark of his living room, staring at me through the window. The silence stretched out for what felt like forever, and my mind raced. How long had he been standing there? Had he heard me the whole time? My chest tightened, the cold night air somehow getting colder as I stood there, waiting for something, anything. But nothing came. His eyes never shifted. They didn't blink, they didn't even flicker. Not once. It was like I was staring at a mannequin, frozen in place. I could feel it crawling up my spine. Something was terribly wrong. That was no ordinary stare. There was something cold about it, something calculated. A knot formed in my stomach, the realization hitting me hard. I couldn't trust him. I don't know why, but I knew. Everything in me screamed that I was in danger, that he was somehow involved in this, whatever this was. I backed away from the door, my breath shallow, my thoughts spinning faster than I could make sense of. Was he watching me all this time? Was he part of this? Was I just some pawn in a twisted game I didn't understand? My body was shaking, but I couldn't stop myself from looking back one last time, wondering if I'd still see him standing there. And I did. Those eyes never blinked. I honestly thought going back would make things better, that somehow returning to the cabin, my own space, would offer me some comfort. Maybe if I locked everything up, maybe if I just settled back into my routine, I'd feel safe again. I couldn't keep going like this, constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering if someone was lurking around. But as soon as I stepped inside, I knew. The air was thick, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The place looked the same, dark, quiet, empty, but it didn't feel the same. Not anymore. It was off, like it was harboring some secret. I couldn't understand. I locked the door behind me, checked every window, and turned on every light in the house. I needed to feel in control, even if it was just an illusion. I tried convincing myself it was fine. Nothing had changed. I was fine, but then I went upstairs to my room. The instant I stepped onto the second floor, my stomach twisted. There was a strange weight in the air, something heavy and unsettling. And there, sitting on my bed, was him. It was like a punch to the gut. He was just sitting there, like he belonged, like he had every right to be there. His back was turned to me, his eyes glued to the TV screen, but I couldn't understand how. My legs nearly gave out under me. My heart slammed in my chest, and every instinct in my body screamed for me to run. I froze, unable to even move. I wasn't sure if he heard me, or if he was waiting for me to say something. Then slowly, as if the motion was too much effort, he turned his head. His face was blank, vacant, like he had no expression at all. I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't wait to see what he would do next. I turned on my heel and bolted down the stairs. My heart was in my throat, my mind screaming that I couldn't let him catch me, that I needed to get out. I don't even remember how I made it out of the house, but I didn't stop running until I was back on the road. And even then, the feeling of his empty gaze followed me. I don't know how long I sat in the car, just staring at the cabin, phone clutched in my hand like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to some kind of reality. Every minute felt like an hour, as I waited for the police to show up. What was I expecting? Someone to believe me, someone to make this nightmare stop, or maybe just someone who would take me seriously. When they finally arrived, I thought, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe things will change. But when the officer stepped out of his car, the reality hit hard. He looked around as if he was performing some kind of checklist, but there was no urgency in his movements, no sign of concern in his face. He checked the house, walked through the downstairs, and even went upstairs. But the whole time his expressions remained neutral. He barely acknowledged me when I pointed out where I thought I saw the man. He didn't even seem to listen when I said I saw him go into the woods. He just nodded a little, then turned back to the cabin, like everything was completely normal. It didn't make sense. How could he not take me seriously? Didn't he understand that someone had been inside? Someone was in my bed. I felt like I was losing my grip on everything. I tried to explain again, but his response was just flat. No questions, no hint of concern. His tone was dismissive, like he'd dealt with far stranger things before, and I was just another person making a big deal out of nothing. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the fact that he wasn't taking me seriously, or the feeling that maybe I was crazy, that maybe everything I'd seen had been some twisted product of exhaustion and fear. The officer didn't even ask if I needed help. He didn't reassure me. He just gave the house a final once-over, and then told me everything was fine. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was humoring me, humoring my panic like it was just some weird offbeat case to chalk up to something simple, something explainable. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him that I wasn't imagining this, but the words got stuck in my throat. Instead, I just watched as he got back in his car, leaving me alone with the uncertainty and the nagging suspicion that something was horribly wrong. The air felt thick, and my chest tightened with every second. I had every intention of leaving the cabin the next morning, ready to put all this behind me, whatever this was. But as I pulled into the driveway that evening, something stopped me cold. A car, a stranger's car. I couldn't make out much of it from where I was, but there was no mistaking that it didn't belong. It was parked right there, taking up the whole driveway like it had been waiting for me. My chest tightened, and I froze for a second. What was it doing here? I had no memory of any visitor, no reason for a car to be parked in my driveway. My mind raced, questioning every possible explanation, but none of them felt right. Every step toward the car felt like I was wading through thick fog, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't hear anything. The air was too still, too quiet, like the whole world had paused. I couldn't see anyone in the car, but it felt wrong, like the whole thing had been carefully placed there just for me to find. My fingers tingled with the need to reach for my phone, but my legs were frozen. And then, as quickly as it had appeared, the car moved. It sped off down the dirt road without a second glance, kicking up dust in its wake. My eyes followed it until it disappeared around the bend. I stood there, staring at the empty driveway, feeling like I'd just missed something crucial. The car had been waiting for me. I was sure of it, but who had been driving it? Was it the same person who had been inside my cabin? Was this all connected somehow? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was on the edge of something I couldn't fully understand. My mind raced, questions piling on top of each other, and still no answers. Just the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. So Rachel and I, we live this normal life, right? The kind everyone says they want. We have our routines, nothing too fancy. Just the usual suburban existence. After work, we usually go out for dinner. It's a nice little escape, just the two of us. Sometimes it feels like a much-needed break from the mundane, but when we get home, it's back to the grind. You know how it is, get ready for bed, try to unwind for a bit, then hit the sack early because, well, we both have work the next day. That night, it was no different. We got home, had our meal, did the usual winding down routine. By 10:30, we were brushing our teeth, ready for bed. I always think about how quiet our neighborhood is at night. No traffic, no noise, just peaceful. And that's when it happened. The phone rang. At first, I didn't even think twice about it. Just some late-night caller, probably a wrong number. It happens, right? But the thing is, as soon as I picked up the receiver, I got this weird feeling. You know that gut instinct? It was like something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. The phone's old, like ancient, and half the time the line's crackly. But this time, the ringing stopped right before I even picked it up, just cut off. I shrugged it off, figured it was some glitch. But then, it rang again. I picked it up this time, a little more curious than I should have been. And there it was. The name of the caller didn't pop up, just unknown. I could feel that something was wrong. It's not even that it was late. It's that it felt like one of those moments where you think, what's the catch? But I didn't listen to that feeling, not yet. Rachel, of course, told me not to answer. She's got a point, right? Who's calling this late? The last time we'd gotten a call like that, it was some telemarketer trying to sell us something we didn't need. I almost agreed with her. It wasn't like we were expecting any calls at this hour, but there was that nagging feeling at the back of my mind, that little voice that kept asking, what if it's important? What if it's an emergency? I reached for the phone just to be on the safe side. I mean, it could have been something serious, but as my fingers were just about to grip the receiver, the ringing stopped, completely, like someone had slammed the phone down on the other end. The weird part was, when I looked at the screen, nothing. The caller ID had vanished. Gone, just like that. And with this old landline, there was no way to check the call history either. It's like it never happened. I sat there staring at the phone for a few moments. It bugged me. I kept thinking, what kind of phone call just ends like that? But I shrugged it off. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was overthinking it. After all, nothing out of the ordinary had happened yet. But then, of course, it rang again. Same number, or rather, no number. Unknown. My stomach sank a little. The timing wasn't what got to me. It wasn't even the late hour. It was the feeling that kept growing. Like this wasn't just some random call. Like there was something more to it. Something I wasn't seeing yet. Something that felt wrong, even though I couldn't explain why. I picked up the phone. Something told me I wasn't going to like what came next. I picked up the phone. It was Al, my neighbor. His voice was a little off, but I didn't think much of it at first. He tells me there's a man standing outside my house. What? I just froze. I didn't know what to make of it. I mean, Al was a good guy and he didn't usually pull pranks like this. But a man outside my house. It felt so bizarre, like one of those weird half-dream moments where nothing makes sense, but you still have to react. I tried to process what he was saying, but before I could even ask him what the hell he was talking about, he hung up. No explanation, just a click, and the line went dead. I sat there, staring at the receiver, wondering if I had somehow missed something. It felt off. I mean, really off. Like I had just stepped into a moment where reality wasn't quite holding together. Rachel noticed me staring at the phone, and I could tell she was already feeling uneasy. She gave me that look, the one that says, "Don't do anything stupid." She told me not to go outside, that it was probably nothing. But I couldn't just ignore it. Something was nagging at me. Maybe it was the fact that Al sounded serious, or maybe it was just that gut feeling I couldn't shake. I had to check. I went to the window and moved the curtain aside just enough to peek outside. The street was quiet, the way it always was at night. Nothing, no one, just the usual emptiness of a suburban neighborhood after dark. I felt a little silly. Maybe Al was just messing with me, trying to get a rise out of me. But then again, that nagging feeling wouldn't let up. Something didn't feel right, and I couldn't shake it. Something was off. I stepped outside, my heart beating faster than it should have. The cool night air hit me, and I immediately scanned the yard. Nothing, not a single sign of anyone standing there. I checked behind the bushes, the driveway. Everything looked exactly the same as it always did. I felt a weird sense of relief at first, almost like I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe I'd gotten a little too worked up, you know. But as I turned to head back inside, something caught my eye. There, at the very end of the walkway, standing just where the path met the sidewalk, was a figure. A man, hood pulled low, so far down I couldn't even make out his face. It was like he was just there. But it didn't feel normal. It didn't feel right. It's like I knew something was wrong, even before I could process it fully. Why was he standing so still, like he wasn't even human? I stopped in my tracks, and for a moment I felt frozen. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of the situation. I called out, asking if he needed help, but he didn't move an inch, not a single twitch. It was like he didn't hear me, or worse, he didn't care. It was unnerving. Every part of me told me to run back inside, to lock up, to call the police. I almost did, but something held me back. What was stopping me? I wasn't sure. It was like I was waiting for something to happen, something I couldn't explain but knew was coming. I stared at him for what felt like forever, trying to figure out what to do. Why wasn't he moving? Why was he just standing there? I felt like I was staring into the unknown, and every second stretched longer than the last. My gut twisted. Something was very wrong. I just stepped back inside, still feeling off from what I'd just seen out there, when the phone rang again. The same damn number. Al's number. My stomach dropped. I was already on edge, and now, hearing from him again, I had no idea what to expect. It was like some weird, twisted game, and I didn't know the rules. I picked it up immediately, trying to stay calm. I told Al what happened. I told him I went outside like he'd said, and there was someone standing at the end of the walkway, just like he'd warned me. But then it all went sideways. Al sounded confused. He said he didn't know what I was talking about. He didn't call me, he said. In fact, he had no idea there was anyone outside my house. It made no sense. I was stunned. I swore I heard him, his voice telling me to go outside. He sounded so sure, so calm. How could he be saying he hadn't called? I felt a rush of frustration. my thoughts spinning. "Are you sure?" I asked him, my voice tight. But he just kept denying it. He seemed genuinely baffled. He even said, "I didn't call you, man," like he wasn't even messing with me. I didn't know what to make of it. Was this some kind of prank? Was he just messing with me from the start? But that didn't make sense either. Al wasn't that kind of guy. He wasn't the type to play jokes, especially not like this. The more he denied it, the more confused I got. Was I losing it? Or was something weirder happening here? I kept thinking back to what I saw, to what he'd said earlier. But the more Al insisted he didn't know anything about it, the less I could trust my own judgment. What if it wasn't him? What if it was someone else, pretending to be him? My mind was in a tailspin, and nothing made sense anymore. I didn't know what to think anymore. I told Al to hold on, and I rushed back to the window, hoping to see some sign of the man. Maybe he was just lingering, waiting for me to look away. But as I stared out, I saw nothing. The yard was empty, the walkway clear. It was like he'd disappeared into thin air. No figure in the shadows, no movement in the dark. It was just gone. I stood there for a second, dumbfounded. I rubbed my eyes, blinked a few times. Maybe I had imagined it. My heart was still racing, but now the adrenaline was mixing with doubt. Had it all been some weird hallucination? My mind playing tricks on me? I mean, the whole thing felt surreal now, like something out of a bad dream that I couldn't shake off. Rachel, still standing behind me, clearly freaked out, tried to make sense of it too. She spoke in that tight, uncertain voice she gets when things don't add up. "Maybe it's some sick prank," she suggested. "Maybe Al's messing with us." Her words stung, but there was a part of me that wondered if she was right. Maybe it was all some elaborate joke, some twisted game to get inside our heads. But no, something didn't sit right with me. The way Al had sounded, the urgency in his voice, it all felt too real, too precise, too much of a coincidence for me to just dismiss it as a prank. I kept staring out into the dark, waiting for some sign that would make it all click into place. But there was nothing. I tried calling Al back, my fingers almost shaking as I dialed his number, but it just went straight to voicemail. My stomach twisted in frustration. Why wasn't he answering? Was this all a setup? Or was there something else going on? Something I still couldn't wrap my head around. All I knew was that whatever this was, it didn't feel normal, and I didn't have a damn clue what to think anymore. The next day, I'm walking to the mailbox, trying to shake off the weirdness of last night. But as usual, it sticks with you. That's when I noticed the car. It's a sedan, dark gray, almost black, sitting down the street. Nothing too unusual at first glance, but something about it nags at me. I've lived in this neighborhood for years, and I've never seen this car before. It's parked like it's been there for hours, maybe longer. No one's inside, just sitting there, idling in the silence. I stop and stare at it, my footsteps slowing as I try to process what I'm looking at. It feels like it's waiting for something, waiting for someone. And it's not just the car that bothers me, it's the way it's sitting, like it belongs there, but doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. If it had been a delivery vehicle or someone stopping by, I could have brushed it off, but there's something unsettling about the way it's just parked there, as though it's a part of the scenery, a constant, unspoken presence. I glance around, looking for anyone who might be watching me, but the street's empty. The windows of nearby houses are closed, their blinds drawn. It's quiet, too quiet. I find myself staring at the car longer than I should, that creeping feeling creeping back in. It's like it's a reminder, like someone's watching us, keeping track of us, marking time. I can't shake that thought. I don't even know if I'm overthinking it, but it feels like I'm being watched from somewhere I can't see. I try to shrug it off, telling myself it's probably nothing, just a random car that happened to park there. But with everything that's been going on lately, I can't let it go. Every time I walk past, I feel like the car's waiting for me, tracking me, keeping its distance but not far enough. And as much as I try to ignore it, the feeling sticks. I don't know what's happening anymore, but I do know one thing. This doesn't feel like nothing. Not after everything that's happened.